All right. Hello, hello,
What's
hello,
up?
everybody. Josh is here joining us from an undisclosed location
An
and
undisclosed beach location.
an
Uh,
undisclosed beach
that's right.
location. We can't tell everybody where you are because our dedicated and loyal rabid fan base would track you down while on
I know.
vacation,
Oh,
and it's just it's a price we pay. It's a burden that we have. So
that's right.
for
That's right.
those of you that don't know or are just joining us, my name is Judah Hoover. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate show. This week, Josh is on vacation, but he is so committed to you, the dear listener, that he is checking in even while on vacation.
Oh yeah.
Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, we go over content as a show. On Thursday, we have an awesome guest. And then Friday, we kind of do a news wrap up of the week, talking about what's real and applicable to the real estate world and the realtor world here in central Pennsylvania. Josh is a real estate investor. I'm a real estate investor. And we both own and operate businesses that service the real estate investing community here in central Pennsylvania and the Mid Atlantic region. And that is why we think that we have authority to talk to you. Josh, why don't you go
Yeah.
ahead and tell everybody who the heck you are?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Josh Wyden. I'm a hard money lender right here in central Pennsylvania. I'm not there right now, but right before our show, I was talking to a potential borrower. We are actively funding loans. They say that if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. That's what I
Yep.
feel like. This shutdown has been amazing. So if you've got somebody that, or you got a project that you're looking to get funded, we're a unique lender in that we are self-funded. We are the direct lender, which means that if you call me this morning, or you call me when we get off the show, before the end of business, I can underwrite your loan. I can give you an approval, and then I need a little bit of paperwork from you. Very short on red tape, but you get me that paperwork, and we're going to be able to close within 24 hours. So we've funded loans the next business day. We've funded loans the same day. We funded loans 10 days out if that's what you need. But if you're looking for funding on your next real estate investment, give me a ring, 717-213-8488. Again, 717-213-8488, or you can hook it or look us up online at hardmoneybankers.com. Judah, tell us about you. Tell us about the Slate House group. Yeah, what am I trying to say? Tell us about Slate House Group. Look, I'm on vacation. This is craziness, but it is what it is. Sorry.
That's great, Josh. The most amazing and most awful introduction I've ever gotten, my friend. I appreciate that. I
Oh,
was I
that's
was
funny.
being interviewed by the Central Penn Business Journal last week, and I said, "Hey guys, I don't care if you call me at 2 o'clock in the morning. You can ask me about anything you want. Just spell my name right." So I guess there is no such thing as a bad press, and there is no such thing as a bad introduction.
Judah, I'm
So
sorry. I'll be on my game tomorrow. I
that's all right,
promise.
man. That's all right. Dude, I'm the one who's nervous. So my name is Judah Hoover, and I run a real estate investment company here in central Pennsylvania. We provide property management services and also real estate services. I've flipped about 600 houses. I had a hard money fund at one point that had about $7 million on the street. My business partner in that, Bruce, is still in the lending world, though he just basically does residential loans at this point. He was our guest last week, and my goal is to help you get to the next level in real estate. If you're looking to buy your first house, I want to talk to you about that. If you're looking to put your goals together, I want to talk to you about that. If you're looking to go from 15 units to 30 units, I want to talk to you about that. Give me a call. Let's talk about getting you to the next level in real estate, whatever that means. If you need funding, I've got great funding sources. You need, a source of deals, I've got that. You need contractors, I've got that. I mean, I will humbly say that there's not a whole lot of ways of making and losing money in real estate that I haven't figured out, and I would love to have that conversation. Before we get into today's content, I just want to give a full disclosure to everybody that I am running the show. I am the showrunner, and this week, and I am a little bit nervous about it. I also think, man, Josh, I got to do something with this background. Dear listeners, by the end of the week, we're going to have something different in place here, because I especially didn't even think or notice about, you know, having the white shirt and the white background. It just really not a good look, and really boring to look at. So we're going to do all kinds of different things here as we move forward. So Josh,
Judah, I should have come on with no shirt on.
right?
That would have made you look great. That would have made you look awesome.
I mean, the what would be whiter, those tiles that you're sitting in front of, or your chest on week one of the beach weekend, or day one of the beach week?
I'm more like a lobster, not so white right now.
Oh,
but that's okay.
Gotcha.
That's okay.
So, Josh, what are we talking about? Why are we talking about it this week?
Yeah. So, all right. So today we're going over basics of buying or selling a house using an agent. And, it seems like a pretty straightforward deal with this, but, I think it's something like 95% of homes across the country, like 95% of real estate, is sold through an agent. And the funny thing is, Judah mentioned this to me before the show. His first real estate transaction was an investment property. So
my first dozen or so. Josh, how many did you came to this late? You did something before you were a real estate investor. So you had already bought your primary residence and things like that. I probably did not quite 2 dozen, but more than a dozen real estate deals before I bought my first house.
Yeah. And so, a lot of times buying or selling your primary residence or your investment properties or, whatever, a lot of us real estate investors, all of our context in real estate is about the wholesale market. It's about buying cheap, renovating at the lowest reasonable cost, and then getting the most for our money. But if you don't know when it's time to go and get the most for your money, how to work with an agent, you're going to be missing a humongous part of the economy. And so we wanted to go over that today and just kind of describe the process. This week we're going to be talking about how to pick out your agent. We're going to talk about what you should look for. What are some simple tricks that you can do in different types of markets, not just the real estate market we're in right now, but if you've got a seller's market, you do one thing. If you have a buyer's market, something else. If it's a stable market, how do you price the house to get the most amount of money when the property market isn't increasing?
Yeah,
things like that. We're going to cover this week because I think it's a really important subject matter. But before we even do that, let's go into what's the bar. What's the whole process look like, and how's that going to translate?
Kind of go through beginning to end. What is the process of selling your house? So if you want to list your house with an agent, what does that look like? So that you know kind of what's coming. Also, the other reason why I think that going over all this is really important, and I promise content is coming, is because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And maybe even when you bought your first or second primary residence, maybe you bought a house and then sold that house and then even bought another one. But we're going to unpeel the onion a little bit and talk about that process and talk about what's going on maybe a little bit behind the scenes too, just so you understand. I remember, Toastmasters teaches people how to give a 30-second commercial and how to give a 30-second speech and how to give a toast. And it's one of those things where it sounds simple, but you don't know until you don't know. John Wooden, famed basketball coach, first day of practice would teach his boys and girls, all right, here we go, boys and girls. This is how we put on our socks, and this is how we put on our shoes. And this is how we lace up our shoes, and this is why we lace up our shoes the way we do. So this may sound basic to a lot of people, but I assure you there's a lot more going on here than what people realize. So let's jump in here. 2 slides. Again, please forgive me. Josh, does that look good?
That looks awesome.
All right, outstanding.
Whoever made those slides is a champ.
I was going to say you would say that. You're the one who made the slides. All right, Josh. This is the stat that you made right off the bat, that 89% of home purchase buyers purchase their home through an agent or broker, and that is a crazy high statistic. We talk about how Joe Biden has an insurmountable lead over Donald Trump right now, and he's like 7 or 8 points ahead. Like buying your house versus with an agent versus not buying your house is, it's ridiculous what that spread is. Whenever you can have 98% of anything, that is crazy, crazy, crazy high.
Yep, absolutely.
I was thinking about this during show prep. Other than properties I bought subject to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And Josh, you think about it. Other than deals you've done wholesale,
Yep.
I've done maybe 1 or 2 deals where I bought a property without an agent.
Well, that's funny. Most of the deals I did that I bought were without an agent, but I sold them all using an agent.
Right.
Every
So
single
you
one of
sold
them.
them all using an agent. Okay,
Right.
yeah. So motivate you. So doing mailings directly to motivated sellers, sure, absolutely. But also, so that's a little bit of a different thing. But when you sell them, you absolutely list with an agent.
Right. 100%. And one of the things that I want to push on today, I'm sorry to cut you off, Judah, but one of the biggest things I want to push on today is the difference between listing with just some agent and listing with the right agent.
Right.
It's not like a few dollars difference. And when you haggle for the difference between a 5% listing commission or 6% listing commission, sometimes the difference is tens of thousands of dollars in your pocket at settlement for paying 6% and getting the right agent. Right. And that's a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, we'll cover that when we get there, because I know we got stuff about that. All right, so here's the process, and let's go through each of these steps quickly. So this is kind of what happens prior to listing. The first thing that's going to happen is, however you want to select your agent, whether you call me or whether you use your brother or whatever, you're in a different area that I don't cover, and so you call somebody off the internet. Like how you determine, we're going to get into that later. But the first step in the process after an initial phone call is that agent comes out and sits down and kind of reviews the property with you and looks at the property, and also is going to have at that time a checklist for you for some things that you should do to the property, and also some things that you need to get ready to be able to provide to that agent. The agent is also going to provide you with a checklist of, hey, here's 3 or 4 comps that have sold in your area. By the way, that's every time I say the word comps now, I think of the time that I gave a presentation on how to find comps, and 45 minutes into the presentation, somebody raised their hand and said, what's a comp? So a comp is a comparable sale. But also, that's the other reason we're doing this. We assume that a lot of people know a lot more about the real estate investing industry than what they do. That's half the reason why a lot of people would be afraid to ask us how the listing process goes. So we're just going to go ahead and teach it to you. So
that's right.
So they're going to review, you should do XYZ to your property. And your property is going to be different depending on what your property looks like. Everybody's home is a little bit different. They're also going to review what recent homes have sold. Hey, Josh, this house is sold for 140. This one sold for 105. This one here sold for 120. And I think we can list your house for 118. And here's why I think that. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? So that's all going to be reviewed. Go ahead.
Well, so when they're making this checklist too, this is something that I have heard from a lot of people. Oh, well, I was going to sell my house, but the agent wanted me to do $15,000 in work to sell the place. Right. So part of this is a discussion with your agent. If they're asking you to spend $15,000 to sell the house, and it's going to get you 15 more in a sales price, don't do it. But if they're asking you to pay $15,000 to do some upgrades to the house, and they're going to get you 50 grand more on the settlement, it's 100% worth it. And there are certainly improvements that need to be made.
Right.
Most agents are not going to just give you a list of things to do so that they can, just make it easy on themselves. They're looking to do the best for you personally.
Right.
Because the faster they can sell your house and the more they can sell your house for, the more money they're going to make in the shortest amount of time. They want to give you the best. So
I would
Take
say
it.
that's not most agents. I would say the opposite. I would say most agents are going to take the lazy route and say,
Okay.
do all this work to the property so that it's easier to sell and I have to do less work. The approach that I take with people, and Josh, I'm glad you brought this up because I wouldn't have even thought about it. I just sold a house in about 5 days, and when I called the agent after walk, or when I called the seller, the owners, after walking the property, I said, hey, if we do $1,500 worth of, we need to do $1,500 worth of work. That's
Right.
almost not a question. And I think we'll list for this. If you want to do $5,000 to $7,000 worth of work, I think it'll list for that. And if you want to do $15,000 worth of work, I don't think you need to. You're basically only going to be getting 15 grand out of it.
Right.
But this is what that'll be. So I always try to, whenever we're putting together money, and here's the thing. Hopefully an agent is sensitive enough to know that not everybody wants to tell you how much cash is in their bank account right then. And you might be talking to somebody who is saying, I want to list my house. But what they're not really telling you is, I need to list my house. I need to sell my house. I got to liquidate the equity out of this so that I can pay my bills. So I always try to be sensitive to realize that capital constraints might be a problem. Or maybe they just want to say, you know what, I don't want to hassle with more than a $1,500 rehab. So let's just do that and get it knocked out. So that's the checklist. So the next thing that happens is a seller makes repairs and declutters. Now, this is one of the biggest things that I want to talk about with this declutter. Listen to your agent. You probably don't see the 2 or 3 pet stains on your carpet because you just haven't noticed them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You probably don't see the little bit of dust on your baseboard because it's just always been there. You have no idea where somebody's going to be walking or coming through your property. And as big of a pain in the tuchus as it is, you've got to white glove it. It's got to be great. It's got to be amazing. And some stuff is okay, but anything you don't want a Penn State thing on the wall, because even if you're a diehard fan, because who comes through might be a Texas A&M fan, or you don't want pictures of your family on the wall because that speaks too personal to you. So decorations are good, staging is good, personal stuff is not. Personal stuff makes somebody think about, oh, wow, I see that they have 3 kids and 3 boys and then a girl just like me, and they're thinking about all this other stuff. You want somebody when you're walking your house, 100% of their brain power should be thought about, what am I going to do with this room? How would I use this room?
Well, Judah,
hold on, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Any personal information puts a seller or puts a buyer into detective mode, puts a buyer into nosy mode, figuring out who you are, what's your life like, or what's going on, whether it's malicious or not malicious. You want them focused 100% on the house.
Well, and Judah, here's what this really boils down to. I had somebody explain this to me when I first got started with kitchens. Right?
Yeah.
If you know people that remodel their own kitchen, they spend an exorbitant amount of money to get a kitchen that is neither adventurous nor particularly useful.
Right.
It's new and it looks good, but it's kind of vanilla.
Right.
But when you are selling a house, you're not selling the kitchen, you're selling the dream.
Right.
And they want to see their 3 kids sitting at the kitchen table.
Right.
They want to see their family gatherings. They want to see their beautiful exotic life that they're going to live in this house. And by eliminating your personal stuff, but not just actually your personal stuff, but like the clutter, literally you could take half of your house and remove it.
Right.
And it might not, right? It might not be the best for you personally to live in there, but you're selling the place. You're trying to get the most money for it. buy have one of those. What the heck is it called? It's
A pods.
yeah, that's it. Have a pod delivered at your house. Fill the thing up and go and send it to storage for when you
Right.
move.
Right.
It will save you so much. With showings is about looking at what's there and imagining your own stuff in that space.
Right.
So
People want to see
yeah,
cavernous closets. They don't want to see closets full of your junk.
yes.
People
No
want to
matter how
see
much junk
big,
you pack away.
right. People
Yeah,
want to see big, expansive counter spaces. They don't want to see, oh, that you have that there's room for a blender and a toaster and a magic bullet and a
right,
coffee grinder and
right.
a toaster oven all on the counter. Put as much of that stuff away as possible and keep it nice and keep it clean. Now, the
Yep.
next thing is the listing contract and getting that signed. Here's what I do. Some people, they sign that listing contract because they want to tie up their buyers or their sellers as soon as possible. They want their people under agreement. Listen, I want to work with people. I don't make them sign a listing contract until we're actually ready to sign, because this decluttering and getting the house ready, that could be 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
And so, listen, if during that 2 or 3 weeks you decide to do something different, I'm totally fine with that. If during that 2 to 3 weeks you decide that you want to stay, or you want to rent it out, or you even want to hire a different agent, like, I'm going to be disappointed, but that's fine with me. So I very intentionally do not sign the listing contract until it's ready to go on the market. I sign a listing agreement and then it goes on the market. So
Right.
that's just kind of how I operate. Sometimes what is step 3 and step 4 here would be reversed with other people. It's just not with me. The other thing that you're going to sign at that point that they should be sending, or at least signed, hopefully they gave it to you before, is but like a seller net sheet. Okay, Judah, when I close, what am I going to be walking away with?
That's right.
So there's going to be all kinds of supporting docs. I print out. Not a lot of agents do this, but I think it's an abundance of caution thing. I print out the public records, like what's sometimes called the tax card, and I make the sellers sign that. You're representing to me as the agent that, to the best of your knowledge and information, everything on this tax card is correct, that you really are the seller. It's just another way of kind of verifying that. The next
Yeah.
thing you want to do is get a photographer to take professional photos, and these are pretty important.
Yep.
It's you want 20 or 30 or 50 photos, because when this is on the MLS, the longer somebody's eyeballs are on your listing, the better it is.
Yep.
It was not that long ago that listings would come with 5 or 6 photos. Now they pretty much standard have 30 to 50 photos, and
Yep.
that's really good. And that really is what you want. You want there to be a ton of photos. Now, listen, if you're marketing a property for rent or you're going rent to own, not as critically as important. You can use your cell phone. Cell phone cameras are awesome and high quality and high def. For
Yep.
this, I don't try to do this myself. I always use a professional photographer.
It's a significant difference. You get many more eyeballs on the property, and a lot of times, if there's minor blemishes, the photographer will touch up the photos.
Right.
That's not wrong. I mean, think about Glamour magazine. Those models are, they brush 30 pounds off of them, and make sure all the wrinkles are out of the dress before they put the thing on the front of the magazine. That's what we're doing too. You're gonna have to see how the dress looks on you, but for the time being, we wanted to look good and get people in the door.
Right. So the next thing you do is list it, get it listed on the MLS, and it's also syndicated across a whole bunch of other platforms. The Zillow network, Trulia, Redfin, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So here's what happens during the time that the property is actively listed. And Josh, I can't see you right now.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Got you.
So, like, if you want to say something while we're going through these slides,
I wanted to Yeah, I wanted to jump into this specifically, like with the marketing while the property is actively listed.
Yep, great.
Like there are a lot of agents that will put the thing on the MLS
Right.
and just sit on it. And you know
Yeah.
what? At this moment, that might be all you need. It might
Right.
be, right? But there's tons of different ways to market. Open houses prior to popular belief or contrary to property belief, open houses are for agents to find new buyers.
Correct.
But guess what? When they have buyers that are interested in a neighborhood and they work a lot in that neighborhood, guess what they're going to have for you when it's time to sell your house in that neighborhood? They're going to already have a list of those existing prospects. So they can do outbound calls to people even before it hits the market. You're
Right.
going to have inbound stuff coming from the appointments. They got open houses. And I mean, Judah, I think this is best for you to kind of talk on here, but like as those leads and things come in, how do you know when to adjust price? How do you know if your list price was the right price or wrong price?
Well, it's just you judge that based on feedback that you're getting.
Right.
And here's the thing: agents will be very brutal if they think that your property is priced too high. Uh, I've had I've had agents on a number of occasions tell me, "Hey, you know, the property is just not in good enough shape. My buyers aren't interested, or my buyers walk the property. They whatever. But you know what? The price is right. My buyers aren't interested. But just so you know, I think your price is right, or I think your price is wrong." And so those two things are kind of like independent of one another. Is when you get feedback from other showings. Also, there's a real quick and easy way to know too, and that is knowing your agent and the agent knowing the market. I know within a day whether I'm priced right or not on a
Mm-hmm.
property. I don't have to
Yep.
wait a week or two. I know a
Well,
day if I'm priced right or not on a property because I know what type of activity I should be getting for $100,000 house or a $250,000 house or a $400,000 house. And if I'm not seeing that type of activity, then I know that I'm priced outside the market. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't know who aren't agents. I can see how many people just viewed our listing. I can
right.
see how many people our listing was emailed out to. There's a
Yep.
whole lot of analytics. I don't just know how many showings we've had. I mean, that's chump change. That's entry level stuff. That's kindergarten things right there. The reason why my company had 25 employees 4 years ago and we have 135 employees today is because of analytical analysis of large sets of data. And
Yeah.
so we have a number of agents working the field and we know what a property should be. Sorry, that became more pitchy about Slate House Group than I wanted to do. The bottom line is if you're watching your numbers and you know your numbers, you know very quickly whether your property is overpriced or underpriced. Sorry,
That's right. No, and
that's my it took me a minute and a half to get to that 20-second answer, but that's my 20
yeah.
second answer.
Well, and I think it's important throughout this process. Right now we have a super hot market. We have
Right.
a super in demand market, but that's not always the case. And so you really need multiple outlets to get your property out there and in front of people. And you need to be able to bob and weave with new information. So
Right.
if you're not getting the phone calls at a certain price point or the interest at a certain price point, maybe they'll lower the price. But at the same time, if you list on Monday and Tuesday, a property goes pending, very similar to your house at a $20,000 higher price point, you got to have somebody that is aware of that type of situation and be able to adjust price
And it's
on the
okay to
upward
raise
until.
prices. I just
Yeah.
got a, I just, so I'm on several hot sheets in several markets, and I have the MLS set up to alert me of certain things. And I saw a couple price increases just today.
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
usually see that. Usually you see status changes and new listings and stuff like that. So All right. So that's great. So reviewing and accepting offers at this point, you are going to be your agent should, if you're in a competing offer situation, what the agent will say is, okay, we listed your property on Friday so that it was there for the weekend. It showed a lot of people, and we got a bunch of showings and things like that. We've actually received one or two offers. So what I think we should do is we should tell our current buyers, we should tell all coming showings to get us highest and best offer.
Yep.
The highest offer and the best offer, meaning with the least contingencies, the most money down. Like there's best offer. We don't have to. I could do 45 minutes on analyzing offers, and as a buyer, how to make the best offer, and as a seller, what you should be looking for. So they'll say, okay, Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we're going to pick highest and best.
Right.
And what you're going to be looking for when you review that is, okay, what's my strength in my buyer? Do they have a pre-approval letter from Quicken Loans? Hopefully.
Well, and
or do they have a? Yeah.
Well, so like in this environment, it depends on the type of property you're in, the housing market the property you're selling.
Right.
This is most important when you're looking at a first-time home buyer market, where the buyer may be willing to pay a higher price, but in order for them to do so, they have to get approval from the bank. So, if you're looking at somebody with a 700 credit score versus a 630 credit score, that's going to be all appraisal contingent, obviously the 700 is probably going to be better, even if they're going to be $1,000 or $2,000 less in price.
Right. And you want to watch what bank they're coming from.
Yes.
And I used to hate it all the time when I was in the lending industry, and realtors would say, I never heard it. Who's when I was first starting out, it was Judah Hoover. I've never heard of him. And I would say, oh really? Who's your agent? I never heard of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I hate that. But like, are they a reputable bank? Can you look them up? Are they Googleable? Just give them a call. You know what I mean? But if they're good or neutral, that's fine. But like, there's a couple banks out there, and Quicken Loans is one of them, that just, I just don't put any stock into what they're say for a whole bunch of reasons.
Right.
And then sale price, and then terms. Are they waiving inspections, or are they not inspecting? What is the due date? Do they run all the contingencies, to within a week of closing or not? Are we closing in 60 days? Or are we closing in 45 days? Or are we closing in a week? So you just take all those things into consideration, and then you're going to accept the contract. From that point, your agent is going to work with the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent is responsible for scheduling the property inspections. And then based on how those inspections come back, there might be things that need done. They might say, hey, we found a crack in the glass door, in the window to the door leading between the house and the garage. We would like that replaced. Or, we found some nails sticking up in the back deck, and we're getting an FHA loan, and so those need to be hammered down. Great. They might be big, small, indifferent, whatever, but you and your agent will work through what those property inspections mean and what happens.
Well, so this is a great reference back to our first slide with the pre-inspection. An experienced agent is going to be able to walk you through that house and say, okay, not only are these the things that you should do in repairs to the house, but hey, you're missing a clip on that hot water heater, or you're missing the extension tube on the hot water heater. That will definitely come up on the inspection. And you don't want a bunch of small things on your inspection, because what that does is, if you've ever seen a home inspection before, it's like 100 pages long. And that's
they find a bunch of things. They always find things.
They always do. That's their job. Their job is like an attorney, show the risk, right? But at the same time, that's where you have experienced agents on both sides of the equation coming into play. The buyer's agent, if you're working with an experienced or a buyer with an experienced agent, what they're going to tell them is, these are things that you really need to get further information on and should ask for. These things right here, where the carpet's slightly worn, a little bit more worn inside the front door than it is throughout the rest of the property, they can ask for it, but that's a throwaway. No,
Right.
I mean, and it's a good idea to prevent as many things on the home inspection as you can, because then the things that come up look so minor in
Right.
comparison.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're exactly right. A good agent knows what's coming.
Yep.
That listing I was just telling you about, where it's weird that this is the analogy here too. But I told them that they have to do $1,500 worth of work. Almost half of that was replacing some banisters and railings, because I knew at the price point that we were going to go in, we were going to be a target for first-time home buyers, and that meant potential to get FHA financing. And
Yep.
even though we ended up not selling with FHA financing and not selling to a first-time home buyer, I thought that was going to be the market. And so I said, we should prep this house as if that's going to be what happens. So property inspections and financing and offers all kind of go hand in hand, because there are some things that FHA and VA and USDA are fussy about that conventional and hard money and cash obviously won't be as fussy about. And what FHA and VA and USDA care about are similar, but they are slightly different. They're also going to, it's incumbent on the buyers to pull a title search, and all that comes together. Settlement happens on the day that you're scheduled. Everybody gets their checks. Everybody goes away. Everybody's happy.
Pop some champagne.
Pop some champagne. Done
exactly.
deal. Bank closed.
That's right.
So, Josh, that was our first show with me kind of steering the ship here. I don't feel that I did too awful.
Kudos.
Great
job.
Really weird, man. Like, I'm not used to being nervous in a performance or sales role. I don't know whether our dear listeners could tell, but I was actually somewhat nervous there today.
Well, listen, we were juggling a little bit. That's okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we get a little bit every day. A little bit better every day.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to be back here tomorrow with more similar content. Tomorrow, what we're going to be talking about is, so that was the sales process, listing your home and selling it. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how to choose the best agent, pros and cons, things you're looking for when you're looking to have an agent. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how to sell your house for top dollar, be it a primary residence or an investment or a flip or something like that. On Thursday, we're going to have a guest. And on Friday, we are going to do the news. That is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. And I
see you tomorrow at noon.
See you tomorrow at noon, everybody.